अरहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तिनको स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाय स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। वंदितु सौव सिद्धे ध्रुव चलमणुवम गदिम पत्ते वोच्छामि समय पाहुर मीणमो शुद्ध केवली भणिदम। नमः समय साराय स्वानुभूत्या चकासते चित स्वभावाय भावाय सर्वभावांतर छिदे। So Acharya Kunkun Dev's Samaysar, in the very first Kalash by Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev that I recited just now, Nama Samaysaraya. So in that particular, first of all, just because it's a spiritual scripture, so in the invocation, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev pays obeisance to the pure soul, which is called Samaysar. Okay. So I offer obeisance to that Samaysar, that is pure soul, which is of the nature of existence. Okay. There exist. Nature of existence means it indicates the substance. Then its nature, conscious nature. Okay. Chit Swabhavai. So that indicates attribute. And then endowed with powers such as all seeing and all knowing, and which shines forth through self-realization. Okay. And through self-realization, they are also indicating the modification. So in the very first Kalash, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev pays obeisance to the pure soul, then pays obeisance to the Dev Shastra Guru. Okay. That was the first Kalash. Then in the second Kalash, what was the second Kalash? Yeah. That was about Pratyagatman. Okay. So may that Anekantmayi Murti shine through, so that whoever is a seeker, aspirant, he will get this Jinvani and he will continue his spiritual journey. Okay. So in the second verse, that Anekantmayi Murti, okay, was explained in three different manners. The first meaning was the right knowledge, Samyak Gyan, Samyak Srut Gyan. Okay. The second meaning was omniscience knowledge. And the third meaning was Jinvani, okay, which has come to us through the divine sound of the Tirthankar. So, having said three meanings, it says that let this be continue. Okay. So, whoever comes and have query that he wants to know his pure soul, so this Jinvani would be available always. So okay, they can read this Jinvani and then they can experience their own soul and get into the path of liberation. Then in the third Kalash, Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev says that the only purpose of my writing this commentary on Samaysar is that whatever impurities I have, I want to get rid of those impurities and manifest complete purity. Okay. So in the life of a monk, there are no sins because they are the holder of major vows. Okay, so there is no sin in their life. But whatever in terms of auspicious sentiments they have, that also Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev doesn't want to have it. He wants complete purity. So he says that writing this commentary on this scripture, my only aim is to increase my internal purity and get rid of total impurity. Okay. So these were the three colors that we had completed so far. Then we started the Gatha number 1, verse number 1. Vandi tu savaside dhruv machal manovam. So dhruv is eternal, achal is immovable, and the third one is anupam, incomparable. So again in this invocation of the Samaysar scripture, Acharya Kunkundev bows to the liberated soul, Siddh Bhagwan. Okay, and he says that those who have been liberated, they are Dhruv, eternal, Achal, immovable, they will never come back to this worldly existence, and the third is incomparable. Okay, so you cannot find anything in this universe which could be compared to this fifth stage, that liberated state that the soul has achieved. Okay, so having bowed to the liberated soul, Acharya Kunkundev says that I will tell you this the nature of the pure soul and the path of liberation as it has come through that lineage of Tirthankar, Gandhars, Acharyas, and in that lineage only I will I will explain the pure soul in this scripture. So nothing is of my own creation. It is what I have received from my seniors, that only I am going to pass on in this scripture. Okay. So we have only so far defined one adjective, that is Dhruv, eternal. Okay. So we will start from there. I think we are on page number 16. No.
20.
18. No.
20.
20. No, 19 also got completed.
So
So
page
we
20.
we were on the page 20. First paragraph was complete. So the last two paragraph is about Dhruv, that is eternal. So we will read again, repeat those two, then we will continue. So come to page number 19. Yeah. Yeah. All the four states of existence arise from reliance upon other substances. Okay. All the four states of existence means human, subhuman, then infernal, and celestial. All these four states of existence arise from reliance upon other substance. Because if you take shelter of your pure soul, then no bondage will happen. But the bondages happen because we have relied upon other substances. Okay. Therefore, they are non-eternal. So all these four states of existence are non-eternal and perishable. But the fifth state, okay, that is the state of liberation, the state of perfection, arises through reliance upon its own nature by taking shelter of its own pure nature. Hence, it is eternal, imperishable, and forever the same. Okay. So here the first paragraph, the eternal has been defined. In the next paragraph also, eternal is defined. uh, although change occurs, although change does occur even in Siddha Dasa, because every moment the new modification is coming up and the old modification gets destroyed. Okay, so this happens continuously, but every time a new modification will come. Okay, although changes does occur even in Siddha Dasha, liberated state, that change is always of one kind, because complete purity has been manifested. There is no impurity. So it is, all the modifications are of one kind, similar kind. Okay, it is of the nature of bliss, nothing else. Okay, for this reason it is called eternal, dhruv. Since it arises through reliance upon the eternal nature that always remains the same, the Siddha Dasa is always of the nature of bliss, always of the nature of peace. But because worldly existence that assumes numerous forms, manifesting as the four realms, Chaturgati, arises in dependence upon external substances, they remain of the nature of constantly changing pleasure and pain. Okay, so in worldly existence you have constantly changing pleasure and pain. Sometimes you are happy, sometimes you are sad, so it keeps on fluctuating. But when you achieve this fifth stage, liberated state, Siddha Dasa, then it is always remaining the same kind, eternal bliss, eternal bliss, eternal bliss, all the time. Okay, although new modifications are coming up every moment, but those modifications are of similar kind. Okay, similar nature. Even worldly pleasure is in the form of pain only, and the forms of pain to keep changing. Therefore the worldly existence is unstable, and all the four realms are likewise unstable. So we want to achieve something which is stable, unmoved, unaffected. Okay, and that is only the liberated state. So once you get liberated, you never again come back to this worldly existence. You don't have body itself. So right now also we are only the soul substance. Although we are locked up in this body right now, but having being locked up, not a single part of the soul has entered the body, and not a single part of the body or the karma has entered the soul. Okay, so right now we are also devoid of three kinds of karma: material karma, psychic karma, and quasi karma. Okay, so uh, our original nature is devoid of all three types of karmas. So we are all pure soul. The steady intrinsic nature, dhruv sabhav, is distinct. Distinct means different. And the steady mode, dhruv paryay, okay, this is about the modification. One is intrinsic nature and one is modification. Okay, so the when you have achieved the liberated state, that paryay itself is dhruv, steady mode, because now there will not be any fluctuation. We will always be experiencing eternal bliss, eternal bliss, eternal bliss. It will not happen that sometimes you will feel sorrow. No. Once you are liberated, you have conquered all the karmas, then you are steadily enjoying eternal bliss all the time. Okay. So the steady intrinsic nature, that is dhruv sabhav, is distinct, and the steady mode dhruv paryay that arises in the dependence upon that steady intrinsic nature is distinct. Okay, so here they say that the steady intrinsic nature is distinct, and the modification manifested by taking shelter in that steady nature is also distinct. Okay, this is a momentary, that is eternal. Okay, so both are different. The steady intrinsic nature always remain uniform in itself, but the steady mode that arises from its support by taking shelter in it does not remain identical at all times. Okay, sometimes you are very happy, sometimes you are sad, so it is not identical at all times because it's a modification, though it remains similar. Okay, but we are talking about the liberated soul. Okay, so uh, does not remain identical means it's not the same all the time, but it is of similar nature. Every moment a new modification arises and the old modification gets destroyed or extinct. So this goes on continuously. Okay, but the modification which has already been manifested as omniscience, it remains omniscience, omniscience, omniscience every moment. Okay, so it says that though it remains similar. The steadiness of nature means remaining uniform, while the steadiness of the mode means remaining similar. Here the reference is to the steadiness of the paryay, because we are going to the liberated state. So that is also a state, that is a modification, that is not the substance. Okay. Why? Because they have achieved what has to be achieved. Okay. We are still trying to achieve, we are in the path. Okay. But they have completed the path and they've got liberated. So it is again a modification state. Okay. It is not the substance that we are talking about. To experientially know the self, the inner Bhagwan Atma, the Supreme Lord, Supreme Soul, which is eternal across the three times. No beginning, no end. It is eternal, past, present, future, all the time, same, same, same. Of the nature of knowledge and bliss, to experientially know the self, the inner Bhagwan Atma, which is eternal across the three times, of the nature of knowledge and bliss, Jnananand Swabhav, it is of the nature of knowledge and bliss. To know one's own self and to establish a sense of belonging only in that. Okay, I am only that, the pure nature, nothing else. To meditate only upon that. Okay, to become absorbed in that alone. This is reliance upon and refuge in the eternal nature, Dhruv Swabhav. From such reliance alone arises the eternal mode through paryay, the state of perfection. Okay, state of perfection is the liberated state. Okay, nothing has to be done. He has done whatever has to be done, and he have achieved the liberated state, perfect state. Okay, state of perfection. From beginningless time, this soul has never known its own divine self. From beginningless time, this soul has never known its own self, own divine self. Okay, Nij Bhagwan Atma. It has only known and regarded as its own the impure modes. Okay, so from time immemorial, we have identified ourselves as impure mode, temporary mode. Okay, Vikari Paryay, that arise within itself through the influence of external substances. So whenever an impure mode manifests, it is always the external support that has been taken. Because when you take the shelter of your eternal nature, okay, inherent nature, then only the pure modification manifest. Okay, so whenever an impure modification manifest, that means you have taken shelter in the external substance. To meditate upon that, to become absorbed in that alone, this is reliance upon and refuge in the eternal nature, Dhruv Sabhav. From such reliance alone arises the eternal mode, Dhruv Paryay, the state of perfection. Okay, this was also done. From beginningless time, this soul has never known its own divine self. It has only known and regarded as its own impure modes that arise within itself through the influence of external substance. From their dispositions, external substance and their dispositions and their instrumental causes. Okay. In these alone, it has established a sense of belonging, oneness, mindness, doership, and enjoyership. Okay. Apnapan, where in the impure modification, thought upon them and remain deeply absorbed and entangled in them. So this has been the story since time immemorial. Now, if you want to make changes, then you have to work hard, put efforts in the right direction. It is still possible, okay? It's not that something not possible right now. We can all do it. This reliance upon the non-self, that is par, refuge in non-self, and from this alone arises endless suffering. So what is the chief cause of our suffering? Okay, the reliance upon the non-self. We believe that happiness will come from these sensual pleasures, these associations, these external substances, but we are wrong in belief. Okay, my happiness lies within me and never in the outside world. Okay, so to get happiness, true happiness, we have to take shelter of our own self. Okay, the reliance upon the non-self, refuge in non-self, and from the this alone arises endless suffering. In the fifth state, Pancham Gati, dependence upon the non-self has been abandoned, and only reliance upon the eternal across the three times, Trikalik Dhruv, Bhagwan Atma remains. This is the reason why the Siddha Dasa is the state of bliss, a state of peace, a state of permanence. So once it is achieved, no looking back. Okay, you remain in the same posture for the rest of your existence. Okay, soul never dies, it only changes its form, but when you get liberated, then there is no change. You remain there for infinite time, no end. And soul by nature is also eternal. Okay, it never gets destroyed. So this is something we all aim to achieve, the liberated state. Okay, from the beginning time, this Bhagwan Atma has been wandering in the four realms and in 8.4 million wombs, yoni. Okay, it has been wandering since time immemorial. The unchangeable stability of the fifth state. The unchangeable stability means the immovable part, Dhruv. Pancham Gati is attained due to the cessation of this wandering, which was caused by the influence of external condition, Parbhav. Okay. All the four realms are full of suffering, whereas the fifth state is full of bliss. In the entire universe, there exists no substance that can serve as its comparison. So we have discussed Dhruv, then we have discussed Achal. So this paragraph from beginning to end, the Bhagwan Atma has been wandering in the four realms and in 8.4 million wombs. Okay. So this unchangeable stability is achal of the fifth state is attained due to the cessation of this wandering, which was caused by the influence of external conditions. So Dhruv has been done, achal has been done, now incomparable. All the four realms are full of sufferings, whereas this fifth state, Pancham Gati, is full of bliss. In the entire universe, there exists no substance that can serve as its comparison. Okay, so it is incomparable. For among all the substance that could possibly be compared, this Pancham Gati, the liberated state, is distinct from them all and endowed with wondrous glory. Adbhut Mahima, wondrous glory. For this very reason, it is called incomparable. Anupam. By the adjective Dhruv, destructibility. By the adjective Dhruv, eternal, destructibility has been negated. By the adjective achal, immovable, wandering has been negated. So no destructibility, no wandering, and by the adjective anupam, incomparable, the somewhat resemblance found among the four realms has been negated. Such discriminations are established in the fifth state. Okay. Acharya Jaisen in his commentary named Tatparya Vritti has also recorded as a textual variant in place of achal, immovable, the term amal, stainless. Okay. And he has given an explanation of both terms together. The explanation is as follows. So Acharya Jaisen, instead of achal, he has used the word amal. Okay. Being free from the impurities in the form of bhav karma, dravya karma, and no karma, and being possessed of pure nature, the fifth state is stainless. Okay. Amal. Always amal. Among the four human pursuits, purusharth, efforts, okay, dharma, artha, kam, moksha. So these are the four pursuits of the soul, or we can say these are the four efforts that a soul can undergo. Okay. First one is dharma. So dharma doesn't here means religion, passionlessness. Dharma here means merit. Then we have artha. Arth means wealth. Then we have kam. Kam means sensual pleasures, because we all want to be happy and we feel that happiness comes from the five senses indulgence. So we are doing it. Okay. The first three, dharma, artha, and kam, are the called three varga. Being distinct from and different from these three, moksha is called upvarga. Okay. Upvarg means exception also. Okay. So liberation is an exception. All three are putting you in worldly existence only. Okay. But if you get liberated, moksha, then you are coming out of this cycle. These three are called three varg. Being distinct and different from these three, moksha is called upvarga. Upvarga means liberation, upvarg means exception. Bowing to all the Siddhas, Siddha Paramatma, who have attained this imperishable, avinashi, immovable, avichal, stainless, amal. So three definitions, three adjectives already stated. First one was imperishable, immovable, stainless. Then we have incomparable. And the last one is liberating. Five adjectives have been used. Okay. Liberating. Upward state. Acharya Kunkun makes a vow to compose the scripture called Samay Prabhut. Next page. Explaining the reason.
Sir, sorry, sir, to disturb. But sir, Pancham Gati now, when we are referring to Pancham Gati, it is the Siddha Dasha.
Yes, liberated state.
Okay, so then, sir, this Pancham Gunastan, that Gunastan is different and Gati is different.
This is state of existence. So we have generally 4 states of existence, and soul keeps on wandering in these 4 states. Okay. But
Okay.
here, Acharya Kunkundev is in invocation is establishing the liberated soul, the Siddh Bhagwan, in his modification and our modification for our welfare only. Okay.
So is it we are discussing Dhruv, Achal, Anupam, Avinashi, Apvarg, as in like these are the 5 characteristics of someone of the soul who has achieved Pancham Gati?
Yes, who has got liberated.
Okay.
Pancham Gati means liberated state.
So in the liberated state, we'll have these 5.
Yes. There are infinite attributes which is manifesting 100% pure in the liberated state. Okay. These
Okay,
5,
so
for
then,
the purpose of explaining, they have mentioned these 5, but there are infinite.
okay. So we are still on the attributes. So we discussed about last class we did substance, then attribute, and then the modification was after attributes, no?
Yeah, but in the last class, means yesterday, we
Yeah.
discussed about the 3 adjectives of a liberated soul. Okay. So the first one was eternal. Then we discussed Dhruv Achal, immovable. And the third
Yeah.
one was incomparable, Anupam. Okay.
Okay.
So that is only we discussed yesterday in verse number 1. Okay. Before
Okay.
that, of course, we discussed in the first colors itself, Dravya Guna Paryay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, sir.
So now the question comes up, why we are bowing to all Siddhas in the very first verse of Samaysar, which is also an invocation by Kunkunda Acharya Dev. So explaining the reason for bowing to all the Siddhas, the commentator Acharya Amrachandra Dev says that those Siddh Bhagwan, by virtue of their Siddhatva, Siddhatva state of perfection or liberation, occupy the position of the ideal exemplar, okay, parichand of the soul which is to be attained. So the image of the liberated soul is nothing but a reflection of our pure soul. Okay. And we also want to attend, and they have attained. Okay. That is only the difference. As far as the pure soul is concerned, both are of same nature, having same amount of attributes. Okay. Nothing more, nothing less. All the souls have equal number of attributes, and those are infinites in number. Expounding this further, Pandit Jaichandji Chabda writes, by contemplating upon their nature, the aspirant soul meditates upon its own nature in the same way and thereby becomes like them, attaining the 5th state, Panchamgati, which is distinct from the 4 realms of existence. Okay. So the one who meditates upon its own nature he is of course going to get liberated. There is no other way you can liberate it. Okay, you have to identify the soul, know his functioning, and then just focus on that. That's all. This is all about the Samaysar. Okay. Expounding the further, Pandit J.G. Chabra writes, by contemplating upon their nature, the aspirant soul meditates upon its own nature in the same way and thereby becomes like them, attaining the fifth state, which is distinct from the four realms of existence. In the 80th verse of the Pravachan Sar, it is said, those who know the Lord Arihant in terms of substance, attributes, and modes, they know their own soul, and through that their delusion comes to an end. Here too the same point is being stated, that by contemplating upon the nature of the Siddhas and by meditating upon one's own nature as being like theirs, worldly beings thereby become like them. Okay. So in the 80th verse, it is said that those who know the Lord Arhant in terms of substance, attributes, and modification, okay, they know their own. 1 minute. Yeah. So first we have to know the Lord Arhant's substance, attributes, and modification. That's only a thought process only. Okay. Then leave aside that focus and focus on our own substance, attributes, and modification with distinctions. Okay. Bhed Purvak Jane. Then leave that focus also and uh, concentrate on the self soul, okay, which is indivisible, indistinguishable, general, eternal, and then just concentrate on it. Okay. And then only you experience the eternal bliss. Okay. So next, the state of liberation, which is the goal for us, has already been attained by those who have reached it. Those Siddha Bhagwan are our ideals because we too have to become exactly like them. Okay. So they are our target. Here, by establishing those very Siddha Bhagwan within one's own soul and within the soul of the readers. Okay. So in the very first verse of Samaysar, Acharya Kunkund Dev says that he first establishes the Siddh Bhagwan in his own soul and within the soul of the readers. Through the medium of substantial praise, Dravya Stuti, and devotional praise, Bhav Stuti, the vow has been taken to compose this scripture Samaysar. Okay. So I take this vow that I will try to compose this scripture Samaysar.
Sir,
Hmm?
can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, like this was a scripture written by Acharya ji.
Hmm.
Now, when you say that this is to invoke in like the image of Siddha Bhagwan in himself and the readers or the listeners. So, in today's era, when we
Hmm.
are reading Samaysar, does
Hmm.
any of that benefit comes to us?
Yeah. See, basically, they are they are preaching us to take shelter of our pure soul. So if you do that, You will also experience eternal bliss. Your path of liberation will begin, and ultimately within 3-4 births, you will also get liberated. So the self-realization is very well in our reach, and for that you did not do many fastings, many rituals, nothing. Only study, contemplate, and take decisions. That's all. That is what you can do consciously. Okay, everything else happens automatically.
Oh, okay, sir. So sorry, I wasn't clear. Like in the sense, if I say the Manglacharan next time when I read
Hmm.
Samaysar, does
Hmm.
that like would have that effect? Like I
Of
don't know
course,
how I.
we are going to the liberated soul. Why? Because we also want to get liberated, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this is in this scripture, Acharya Kunkun also bows to Siddh Bhagwan, because that is the ultimate goal of every seeker. Who wants to
Okay.
transmigrate? Nobody. Okay. So unless and until you get liberated, the transmigration will always be there. Birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. So when you get liberated, that is the end of your wandering phase. Now you will be
Okay.
stable, established in one place all the time, experience eternal bliss all the time.
Okay, sir.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Now, explaining the nature of Dravya Stuti and Bhav Stuti, Swamiji says, I am distinct from mind, speech, body. So here Swamiji is stating us how to practice discriminative knowledge. I am distinct. First begin, who am I? I am distinct from mind, speech, body, and auspicious or inauspicious dispositions. Okay, I am distinct from all this. Thus, by turning towards the pure soul, Shuddhatma, and by withdrawing from the tendency of attachment, rag, to remain steady within. That is devotional praise, bhav stuti. Okay. Thus, by turning towards the pure soul, experiencing it, and by withdrawing from the tendency of attachment, to remain steady within, okay, concentrate within, that is devotional praise. This is true praise, bhav stuti. Okay. So, this bhav stuti is nothing but your self realization, your stage of experiencing the soul. Okay. That is bhav stuti. All other praise expressed through auspicious disposition is substantial praise, dravya stuti. Okay. So bhav stuti is the self-realization, and dravya stuti is to praise by speech. Okay, that is dravya stuti. I am an embodiment of knowledge, pure by nature. Okay. With such a feeling, forgetting passions like attachments, etc., and fixing one's focus upon the passionless Bhagwan Atma. To remain steady within is called inward concentration. Okay. So the self-realization, this is also the same they are explaining. The self-realization process, the stage of self-realization. Okay. I am embodiment of knowledge and pure by nature. With such a feeling, forgetting passions like attachment, etc., and fixing one's focus upon the passionless Bhagwan Atma, to remain steady within it is called inward concentration. Antarang ekagrata. That is devotional veneration. Bhav vandana. Okay. Devotion, devotional veneration, that is bhavana. The devotional feeling directed towards auspicious attributes is substantial veneration. Dravya Vandana, that is substantial praise, Dravya Stuti. Okay. Through the medium of Bhavstuti and Dravya Stuti, Acharya is saying that I will tell you the nature of the pure soul in this scripture. Acharya Jaisen in his commentary Tatparya Vritti has explained the word Vanditu in this way. From the real viewpoint, Nischanai, since within oneself both the state of the worshipper and the worshipped are present. From the real viewpoint, okay, since within oneself both the state of the worshipper, okay, and the worshipper and the worshipped are present, there is undistracted meditation, nirvikalp samadhi, as its characteristics. Thus, by such devotional salutation, bhav namaskar, and conventionally by verbal substantial salutation, dravya namaskar, veneration is performed. Acharya Kunkun Dev, Amrit Chandra Dev, and Jaisen Acharya were all bhavlingi saints, okay, true saints, dwelling in the stages of the 6th and 7th gunasthanas. Even the most exalted duration of the 6th gunasthan lasts only an antar murat. Okay. For this reason, they would enter into the 7th gunasthan every antar murats. This itself was their devotional salutation. Okay. Bhav Namaskar. Their devotional praise, Bhav Stuti, and the solution expressed here in words is the Gatha's substantial salutation. Dravya Namaskar, substantial praise, Dravya Stuti. Okay. Through such Bhav Stuti and Dravya Stuti, Acharya Dev desires to establish the Siddhas within his own soul and within the soul of the readers. He wishes to compose this supreme scripture with the Siddhas as witness. And he also expects from the readers that they too establish the Siddhas within their hearts and then study this king of scriptures. Samaysar is called the king of scriptures. Even in the world, wherever a great task is performed, it is done in the presence of worthy witness. Even an act like marriage is performed with the indirect witness of deities, scriptures, teachers, and with the visible witness of community elders. For this very reason, in the composition of the soul, benefiting of supreme scripture, Acharya Dev wishes to make all the siddhas the witnesses. Okay. According to the saying, the eternal state of the siddhas is also my own state. All souls are indeed the same as the siddhas, and the final goal of every aspirant of the soul is the state of perfection. Siddha Dasa. For this reason, on his supremely auspicious occasion, he begins this great work by establishing the form of perfection, Siddhatva, within its own soul and within the soul of the readers. Acharya Jaisen gives the derivation of the word Srut Kevli in this way. In the supreme scripture, Parmagam, in the supreme scripture, Parmagam, what the omniscient ones have spoken is called Srut Kevli Bhanita. Means that it has come from the Srut Kevlis. For Srut Kevlis, there are two conditions. First one is he has to be a right believer. The second one is he should have read this 12 Angas. Okay. That is the total canonical scriptures that we have. Okay. So two conditions for Srut Kevli. Okay. So in the supreme scripture, Parmagam, what the omniscient ones have spoken is called Srut Kevli Bhanita. So whatever has come in the divine sound of the Tirthankar, that is only that is called Srut Kevli Bhanitam. According to this derivation, the meaning of the expression Sud Kevli Bhanidam is precisely that which has been spoken by the omniscient Lord in the supreme scripture. Okay. Now the second point, what the omniscient ones, that was the first point. All the other Gandharas are reciters of the Dvat Sang, the 12-fold canon, and hence they are Srut Kevlis. So all the Gandharas are Srut Kevli, and first of all the omniscient, because from there only it is the source, from where there only we have got this knowledge. And hence they are Srut Kevli. So Gandhars are also Srut Kevli, and the Tirthankar Lord Arihant is also Srut Kevli. In fact, it is the Gandharas themselves who have composed the entire canon in the form of the Dvat Sang. For this reason, in another sense, Acharya Jaisen has taken the meaning to be that which is spoken by the Lord Gandharas. The purport is that the supreme scripture is written in accordance with the speech of the omniscient ones and the Gandhars. Acharya Amritchandra Dev expands upon this still further. He says, this scripture is called Samaysar, composed by the Kevlis who directly know all substances, illuminated by the beginningless and endless Sruta, narrated by the Srut Kevlis who themselves directly experience it, revealing all substances and the pure soul, and being a part of the discourse of the Lord Arihant. This I now begin to compose. So before writing the scriptures, it's a general tendency to remember all the seniors, okay? And in their presence only, we try to write scriptures like this. In the word Srut Kevli, so three meaning of Srut Kevli. First one was the omniscient ones. The second one was Gandharas. And the third one was the entire lineage from Tirthankar to this present scholar. Okay. In the word Srut Kevli, Jaisen has taken only the Lord Gandharas, whereas Amrit Chandra has included all the Srut Kevlis. Thus, in his explanation, the entire lineage up to the last Srut Kevli Bhadrabahu is uncomposed. The entire statement has been made only to establish the authenticity of the scriptures. So whatever I am saying in the scripture, that is according to the omniscient Lord, Ganadhars, and in that lineage, all the Jinnavani. Acharya Dev says that I am not going to say anything on my own. Whatever I say in the Samaysar will certainly be in accordance with the true nature of reality, as well as in accordance with the divine sound, Divya Dvani, of the omniscient Lord, Sarvagna Paramatma. In accordance with the Dvat Sang composed by the Ganadharas, and it will only reveal the true nature of the pure soul and all substances. This work I am doing only for the welfare of myself and others, and that welfare of self and others is not for the fulfillment of any worldly purpose. Rather, it is undertaken only for the destruction of beginningless delusion. Here a question may arise. It is undesirable that disciples might still have beginningless delusion of right belief, darshan moh, and delusion of conduct, charitra moh. But Acharya Dev is without delusion. He is detached, bhavlungi unit. How then is delusion possible in him, for the destruction of which he has undertaken this effort? Brother, even Amritchandra Dev has not yet become completely free from delusion, has he? Had he been so, he would have become a detached omniscient. He too has conduct deluding karma in its subsidizing but not destroyed form, Sanjwalan Kashai. Therefore, here one should accept only that much delusion and of that very kind which one actually has. Therefore, here one should accept only that much delusion and of that very kind which one actually has. In the case of souls with false belief, mithya drishti jiv, both dvatsang monia, that is belief deluding, that both darshan monia, belief deluding, and charitra monia, conduct deluding karmas, need to be destroyed. For the right believing samyak drashti souls in the fourth gunasthan, only the destruction of charitra moh should be considered. Likewise, those who in the fifth gunasthan, the destruction of the remaining two kashais, okay, of the charitra moh type should be taken. And for the Muniraj, only the destruction of the Sanjulan Kashai should be understood. So when you attain the fourth stage, the first quadruplet of passion, Anantanubandhi Kashai, has gone. When you attain the stage of fifth stage, then your second level, second quadruplet of passions, okay, Apratyakhana Varan Kasai, that has gone. Then further, if you go deep, then you can get rid of the third quadruplet also. Now this time you will become monk, okay, and the onward journey continues. In the third verse of the auspicious invocation, Manglacharan, Acharya Amritchandra Dev has expressed his desire to only achieve the supreme purity of his mind by composing the commentary on this scripture. That very point he is now expressing here in the commentary on behalf of Acharya Kunkun Dev. Brother, observe, Acharya Dev is saying that this scripture is a component of the discourses of the Lord Arihant, a portion of the divine sound is a portion of the divine sound of the Lord. This is not an ordinary book. It is a component, a portion of the speech of the Lord Kevali. Therefore, it should be studied only by giving it the same reverence and as the divine speech of the Lord Kevali. Where you do so, only them with will the full benefit of studying it be obtained. Finally, Acharya Amritchandra Dev writes that its exposition is begun through inner expression, bhav-vachan, and substantial expression, dravya-vachan. still 14 minutes we have. We hope to finish this number 1 verse. Bhavvachan and Dravyavachan are explained by Swamiji in this manner. Acharya Dev says that my knowledge mode Acharya Dev says that my knowledge mode, Gyan Paryay, is inner expressive state, Bhavvachan, and the speech that arises through thought activity, Vikalp, is Dravyavachan. In the knowledge mode, there is an increase at every moment. While the formation of words occurs because of words. Here the Nimit Nemitik Sambandh, instrumental cause and effect relationship between the two has been stated. Pandit Jaychandji Chhabda, the Hindi commentator, explains the meaning of the word Vochami in the sense that of this very Gatha as follows. In the Gatha Sutra, Acharya Dev has said, Vakshyami, I shall speak. In its meaning has been derived by the commentator from the root vak, root vachan, vach, in the sense to define, to explain. The implication is indicated in this way. Among the 14 Purvas, in the 5th Purva called Gyan Pravad, there are 12 Vastu Adhikars. Each of these has 20 Prabhat Adhikars. In the 10th Vastu, among them, there is a Prabharth called Samay. The knowledge of the original aphorism of this same Prabharth belongs to the earlier great Acharyas, and the knowledge of its meaning, according to the lineage of Acharya, also belongs to Sri Kunkund Acharya Dev. He defined the Samay Prabharth, he composed definition aphorism. 10 kinds of sutras have been mentioned, and among them is also the Paribhasa Jati. That which indicates a doctrinal section in its proper place by means of meaning is called a Prabhut definition. Paribhasha is called a Paribhasha definition. Sri Kunkundacharya Dev composes the Paribhashana of the Samaysar. That is, he composes definition, aphorism, Pratibha sutras, which indicate the meaning of the Samay Prabhut in its proper place.
Sorry, could I stop you, please?
Yes, yes.
There's this sentence here on the same page 26, in the first paragraph. While the formation of words occurs because of words. Is that right?
While the formation of words
formation of speech, or am I wrong?
Because of speech, let me check the Hindi one. Okay. So in Hindi it says, Acharya Dev कहते हैं कि मेरी ज्ञान पर्याय भाववचन है. That my ज्ञान पर्याय, that is written in the bracket here also. Knowledge mode is inner expressive state, भाववचन. Okay. And the speech that arises through thought activity, vikalp, is dravya vachan. In the knowledge mode, there is an increase at every moment. और शब्द की रचना शब्द के कारण होती है. So it is word only. Hindi also it is word. While the formation of words occurs because of words. Okay. So it is also, Hindi is also same. शब्द की रचना शब्द के कारण होती है. So formation of words occurs because of words. Okay. So it is all correct. So we were here. Okay. Thus it is clear, last paragraph, right? We're on the last paragraph, right? Yes. Thus it is clear that this king of scriptures named Samaysar has been composed in accordance with the Samay Prabhut. Okay. So where from this scripture has come? Very long history, you can just track it. Thus, it is clear that this king of scriptures named Samaysar has been composed in accordance with the Samay Prabhut of the 10th Vastu Adhikar of the 5th Purva called Gyan Pravad. Okay. So this Samaysar scripture has been composed in accordance with the Samay Prabhut of the 10th Vastu Adhikar, and that Vastu Adhikar again is connected to the 5th Purva called Gyan Pravad, and which is again the 12th part of the Dvat Sang. Okay, so which is the 12th part of the Dvat Sang, itself included in the divine sound Divya Dhvani of the Lord Tirthankar Mahavir, compiled by Gautam Gandhar and others, and transmitted by all the Srut Kevlis up to Bhadra Bahu. Okay, so Bhadra Bahu Swami is supposed to be the last Srut Kevli. Okay. So this scripture has come from the Lord Tirthankar Mahavir, and the lineage that has been shown here, compiled by Gautam Gandhar and others, and transmitted by all the Sris Kevli up to the Bhadra Bahu Swami. The central subject matter, Abhide. So any book you write, in the very first chapter they mention what is the Abhide. Okay. What is the central subject matter of this king of scriptures, the Samaysar? Is the pure nature of the Bhagwan Atma. So what is the central subject matter? Pure nature of the Bhagwan Atma, pure soul. They want to explain pure soul. Therefore, that is its essential theme. All the terms and words employed in the scripture are expressive of the pure soul. Okay. So words and the meaning have a connect. Vachan, Vachan Vachya Sambandh. Okay. So there is existing a relationship between the words and its meaning. Okay. Therefore, that is it. All the terms and words employed in the scripture are expressed of the pure soul. Therefore, between those terms and the pure soul, there exists the relations of word and meaning. Okay. Word is Vachan and meaning is Vachya. Vachak, Vachya. So word is Vachak. Word and meaning. Okay. So word is Vachak and meaning is Vachya. Vachak, Vachya, Sambandh. Of expressor and expressed. Okay. So there exists a relationship called expressor and expressed. Okay. And the attainment of the pure soul itself is the fundamental purpose. So in the literature, in the very first chapter, they mention what is the fundamental purpose, what is the central subject matter, and what is the relationship about. So all these three have been here explained. Thus, the subject matter, relation, and purpose of these scriptures are clearly established. Accordingly, in this first Gatha, Acharya Kunkun Dev, by venerating all the Siddhas who have attained the eternal Dhruv, steady, Achal, and stainless, Amal, incomparable state, takes the woe. So, eternal is the first adjective, then we have steady, Achal, then stainless, third, Amal, incomparable, fourth one, Anupam state, takes the vow to compose the scripture named Samaysar as narrated by the Kevlis and the Sruth Kevlis. Okay. So this is the first verse. Lot of explanation, extra explanation has been given. The main verse, it explains the, first of all, they are bowing to the Siddhas who have attained this liberated state, and that liberated state has been defined by three adjectives: eternal, immovable, and the Dhruv, Achal, Anupam, incomparable. That is the first line of the words. And the second, in the second line, he says that I will be saying whatever the Sruth Kevlis have told, from whatever I have got from the Sruth Kevlis, that only I will say here in these scriptures. Okay. So in short, this is the meaning. So in syllabus, you have only the Kalash and the verse and the commentary by Acharya Amrit Chandradev. These three things you have in syllabus, but rest of all we are also going to read mostly. At sometimes we may skip because if it is very confusing, then there is no point. Okay. So like in second or third Gatha, at one point in the second itself, I think Swasamay and Parsamay, some of the discussions are not required. So we will skip that part. Okay. Otherwise, we are going to read everything. Okay. So who will summarize this first verse next week, Monday? Only gist. In the end also I summarize. So you can just...
I'll do it, sir.
Okay, you will do it. So the next class, Priyanka ji will do it. Okay. So we will have one at a time. So in a way, you will be studying deeply also. And when you recall, you understand in a better way also.
So
Okay.
is it the full of the first verse or
Only
just
first
what you
verse,
want?
only first
Okay.
verse.
Okay.
Okay. So we had started yesterday and we finished today. Okay. Anything else? Okay. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है. 9 times नमोकार मंत्र. बोलो द्वात संगमयी जिनवाणी माता की जय.